From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us midweek. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, the pendulum on the COVID-19 vaccine front has shifted here in Yellowstone County. Supply has now overcome demand as hundreds of Yellowstone County vaccine appointments go unfilled. Now, this change is prompting Riverstone Health to consolidate its 2 community vaccination clinics starting next week. Q2's Mitch Laggy brings us a COVID-19 update and shares new census data that shows how hesitant some Montanans are to get the shot.
Demand for the COVID-19 vaccine in Yellowstone County is decreasing. Riverstone Health confirmed on Wednesday that last week, of their 2,400 free vaccination appointments, about half of those went unfilled. With the shrinking demand, Riverstone announced its vaccination clinics will be consolidated to one location at the Shrine Auditorium in Billings starting Monday, April 19th. People 16 and older are eligible to receive a vaccine. Also, with the shrinking demand, the state has approved 16 and 17-year-olds from outlying counties to come to Yellowstone to get their shot. The out-of-county teens would get the Pfizer vaccine, which is approved for people 16 and older. A parent must be present with their child at the appointment that can be made by dialing 406-651-6415. Riverstone pulled about 140 doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine from a previously scheduled Billings College clinic on Tuesday, after news came from the Centers of Disease Control about its recommendation to pause administering shots from Johnson & Johnson. The Johnson & Johnson doses on the shelf at Riverstone Health are good until late May, with some doses good until June, so staff are keeping those vaccines in storage for now. Most of Riverstone's doses have come from Pfizer or Moderna since the vaccine first became available last year. People across the country and in Montana are hesitant to get vaccinated. According to data from the end of March, gathered by the U.S. Census Bureau, 27% of Montanans were either, quote, definitely not or probably not going to get vaccinated. Ranking the highest as to the reasons why not, 45% of that group were concerned about the side effects, and 33% wanted to see if it was safe. Riverstone Health and the Yellowstone County Unified Health Command continue to encourage all residents of Yellowstone County to get vaccinated against COVID-19. In Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
All right, thanks so much, Mitch. Now, the U.S. Census Bureau also says about 15% of adults across the country are hesitant to get a COVID-19 vaccine. And within the hour, the CDC unexpectedly delayed its decision on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, leaving that pause in place. Well, as for new confirmed cases across Montana, health authorities report an increase of 183 cases since last night. The state's death toll remains steady at 1,525. Now, nearly 200 Montanans recovered from the virus in the last 24 hours, and active cases remain consistent tonight, sitting at just under 1,000. In Carbon County, deputies spend as many as 9 hours a day transporting offenders to jails in surrounding counties. Well, that's because Carbon County has no jail of its own. Officials say it puts the community at risk when offenders are out and deputies are constantly on the road. As Q2's Andrea Lutz reports, tonight is the first of several public meetings where leaders will try to woo the community for a new jail.
Well, there hasn't been a jail in Carbon County since 2001, but now there's a renewed effort to build a $19 million detention facility right here off of Highway 212 in Joliet.
Deputies in Carbon County spending hours on the road, traveling Montana, all to find a bed to house a prisoner.
We either don't put people in jail that normally would be, or if we have to transport, a bulk of our prisoners go to Gallatin County.
Sheriff Josh McQuillan says ultimately the situation means public safety's at risk.
That's unacceptable.
And it's costly, too.
We got a couple of board bills between the two of the facilities we utilize, one being Gallatin County, one being Broadwater County. Total of that board bill is almost $30,000.
Costing the county as much as $900 a day just to transport. So that's why county officials are renewing talks to build a 53-bed detention facility on existing county land.
Some people think it's a no-brainer and it's something that's definitely needed. Some folks are adamantly opposed.
But in addition to the $19 million price tag for the building, Commissioner Bullock says there's another $2 million needed to operate it.
And we'll do what our people tell us at the end of the day, but we have to ask.
The sheriff says time spent traveling.
I mean, yesterday we left at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to go to Gallatin County for a transport.
Could be time spent protecting.
You know, that person got back at 6 o'clock last night. The level of public safety will increase.
In Carbon County, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
All right, thanks so much, Andrea. Now, the bond election for the proposed detention center is planned for August 3rd, with the facility complete in late 2023. Now, the jail will cost taxpayers an additional $160 a year on a home valued at $200,000. Now, tonight is the first public information meeting for the Carbon County Detention Facility proposal. It starts at 6 p.m. at the fairgrounds. A brief update tonight on a wanted shooting suspect out of Bighorn County. Fabian Dawes remains on the loose after he allegedly shot and seriously injured a man in front of witnesses last week. Now, the victim has since been released from the hospital. Dawes is charged in Crow Tribal Court with attempted deliberate homicide, possession of a firearm, and obstructing justice. Again, authorities warn that Dawes should be considered armed and dangerous. A Wyoming man originally sentenced to death for the murder of a Billings teenager could be headed back to death row. But first, Dale Wayne Eaton will have to go through a mental evaluation to determine whether he is competent to be sentenced. At a hearing this morning, Eaton, who is now 76 years old, was ordered to undergo a 30-day evaluation at the state hospital in Evanston. Eaton was convicted of the 1988 rape and murder of Lisa Marie Kimmel, who had been on her way from Denver to visit her family in Billings when she was abducted. Now, the case went unsolved until 2002 when DNA linked Eaton to the crime. Kimmel's car was found buried on his property. He was convicted and sentenced to death in 2004, but the sentence was overturned 10 years later when a federal appeals court ruled that Eaton hadn't received appropriate representation. Now, prosecutors announced in 2019 they would again seek the death penalty against Eaton. Then last year, the U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear Eaton's appeal, possibly clearing the way for his execution, of course, depending on whether or not he is found competent for sentencing. Well, a proposed constitutional amendment that would essentially ban abortion in Montana will not go before voters in 2022. Today, the Montana Senate voted 29-21 for the House Bill 337, but the measure still comes up 5 votes short. It takes 100 votes, 2/3 of the entire body, to place a constitutional amendment before voters. Well, President Joe Biden will nominate a Montana woman to head the U.S. Bureau of Land Management. She is Tracy Stone Manning, a National Wildlife Federation executive in Missoula, and before that, a top aide to former Montana Governor Steve Bullock. The BLM manages almost 250 million acres of federal land and 700 million acres of federal mineral estate. Well, today, conservation groups in Montana praised the choice of Stone Manning. Whitney Tawney of Montana Conservation Voters says Stone Manning understands the importance of public lands to the Montana economy. And Nick Givok of the Montana Wildlife Federation says Stone Manning is a hunter and will lead reforms of oil and gas leasing policies that he says have ripped off taxpayers in the past. Well, Stone Manning's nomination will go to the U.S. Senate for confirmation. Well, if you plan to get out of town this spring or summer, now might be a good time to purchase your ticket. Q2's Brandon Warren gives us a bird's eye view of what to expect from the air.
As leisurely travel continues to increase, the Billings Logan International Airport looks forward to what they believe could be a busy summer. 2019 was the busiest year in history for the airport, but they believe that 2021 could soon claim that title.
Well, this summer it looks like it's going to get back to pretty much normal. Airlines are bringing in a lot of service. There's going to be a lot of seats, and there's a lot of pent-up demand out there. So we think there's going to be a lot of traveling coming through Billings this year.
With new planes and new destinations, there's a lot for the airport to be excited about.
Yeah, we had a few changes. I mean, last year, Allegiant started direct service to San Diego, but it was right during the COVID, so not that many people were flying. So it's really like new service this year.
Speaking of new things, construction on a new section of the airport is well underway.
We've pretty much have the steel framing up for the phase that we're working on, which includes the new A concourse and the great room area. If everything keeps going according to plan, we should maybe be looking at getting our airlines moved over there in the first part of November with some passengers in our new building. So we're very excited about that.
The new terminal will hold 3 additional gates and can be expanded upon as time passes. In Billings, Brandon Warren, MTN News.
Thanks, Brandon. And masks are still required in all airports and throughout the duration of all flights. Up next on tonight's MTN 530 News right here on Q2, a new study shows Montana rocks for docs. We'll bring you the pulse on why the Treasure State is so appealing. Plus, we're off to the races with a Columbus athlete who is ready to make his mark on the track.
Brandon just took us to the Billings airport, so I'm going to take you to the Cody airport. That's snow that's been melting out on the tarmac. We'll talk about our potential for snow all across the region when we come back.